National Economic Council approves 180 billion naira with 5 billion naira to be given to every state to cushion the effect of fuel subsidy removal. CBN unveils forex price verification system portal for investors, plus oil prices rise on weak dollar as Brent trades at more than $84 per barrel. The program is Business Express, reaching you from Abuja, the nation's capital. I am Musa Abubakar, your guide. With business development, we begin with news that the Central Bank of Nigeria has introduced a foreign exchange price verification system designed for importers to have access to forex. The Apex Bank, in a statement from its Trade and Exchange Department, says a price verification report from the portal is now mandatory for all Form M requests, while it takes effect from August 31st, 2023. While urging all authorized dealers to inform their customers of the development, the CBN also said any case of infraction will be appropriately sanctioned. The federal government is exploring options to ensure poverty is reduced drastically in the country. The secretary to the government of the Federation, George Akume, engaged the Chinese ambassador to Nigeria, Hu Chen-shun, as he played host to him in his office.
Reducing it to the barest minimum and for spreading prosperity for our people. In this task, in this effort, we must also take a look at what some other countries have done in that direction, and China has already been recognized as a country where millions and millions of people have been lifted out of poverty.
The National Economic Council has come up with more resolutions to cushion the effects of fuel subsidy removal and address the effect of flood disaster facing the country. The council, chaired by Vice President Shettima, also received progress reports on the ongoing nationwide distribution of rice, grains, fertilizer, other items to states, and 5 billion naira financial support provided by the federal government, and commended the Central Bank of Nigeria and the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, for their interventions. Council also urged state governments to upscale the distribution of palliatives towards alleviating the sufferings of citizens, especially the vulnerable groups.
This funding has to be shared with a formula as follows. 52% of this money is given to states as grants, while 48% of the 5 billion naira is to be paid back on an installment basis within a period of 2 years, 20 months, to the CBN by the states and the local government areas in Nigeria.
President Bola Tinubu on Wednesday unveiled the portfolios of Nigeria's new ministers. The president appointed a former banker, Olawale Edun, as Minister of Finance and Coordinator Minister of the Economy, while Minister of Budget and Economic Planning is Atiku Bagudu, while Ministers of Trade and Investment is Doris Anete, among others. 13 of the nominees were appointed ministers of state, while some new ministries were also created. Our discussion today will focus on setting agenda for ministers of finance and other ministers as it affects the economy. Our guest is an economist who is a public and financial analyst, Dr. Sam Amadi, who joins us from Lagos. It's good to have you on the program, Dr. Amadi.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon.
Okay, before we delve into the main issue on the table, can you tell us the way of the all-time high inflation of, and the way out of the all-time high inflation of 24.08%, which came in July?
Well, there are two drivers, or two categories of drivers. One, standard drivers, the crisis in the global economy, the war in Ukraine that's continued to affect the price of basic food supply of basic food stuff like wheat and others. And again, local factors like the insecurity that's affecting agro production. And the president, Tinubu, had also highlighted that government will do a lot more to encourage local production. And that's why the idea of strategic release from the grain reserve is to increase supply. So these the constraints in global supply chain arising from the crisis in Ukraine, the dislocation from some of the bandits and terrorist attacks around the northern part of the country, especially the Benue Valley, and of course the climatic change continues to make impact. So all these create inflationary pressure on the on agriculture and other things. And finally, you talk about the issues around the inflationary energy cost, because essentially food transport will also constitute pricing. So even without additional constraint in terms of supply, the inflationary impact of the energy pricing, transport cost will impact on cost of food. So these are the basic drivers. And so to drive them down, you have to improve quantity supply. You have to increase production. You have to ensure stability in the agro area and reduce insecurity so that more farming and then crops will get to people. But of course, improve general transport mobility, ease of doing business, invest more in fertilizer. Government has talked about that, and the idea is to increase yield. So it's a value chain. You increase yield, you improve off-season agriculture, you reduce cost of mobility and transport, and then that will help to drive down the price of food.
Okay, do you see in any way where pilot has been dished out to states by the federal government help reduce this the impact of inflation?
Well, it will, if it's properly managed, it will reduce the impact of the food people. It won't change the price because the general price depends on demand and supply. So, but what it does is to cushion the income impact. So, most households will spend about 15 to 20% or 30% of income on food. So, if government is helping them with this palliative, it means that government is giving them the capacity to consume more, and that will help deal with human development, with poverty, and other. That's a good plan. So, what this is doing is a mitigation for the impact of this inflation, the impact of food inflation, energy inflation on the ordinary people. But it will not necessarily reduce inflation, because to reduce inflation, you need to have more production. That's really what counts, nothing less than that.
Okay, now we have new ministers with accompanying ministries like the gas resources and marine and blue economy. Do you think we need these new ministries?
I think gas, the splitting gas in terms of the Minister of State for Gas and Petroleum is a good idea. You know, we have a gas master plan and a gas strategy. And so having a minister could mean that he would deepen the gas economy. See, Nigeria is more of a gas country. We have abundant gas that could last 500 years by estimation. We are talking about movement from petrol, PMS cars to CNG. Now, if you focus on that, it's a job creator. You create a lot of jobs, you boost economy, ancillary services. So a gas ministry or sub-ministry, because you still have the Ministry of Petroleum, which presumably the president will be the minister, like we have seen in the past. But having a Minister of State for gas could be good because it means that there will be focused attention on expanding the hitherto untapped potential of a gas economy. We are big on that. Now, the ocean economy, blue ocean economy, it's a good one. You see, when I was a member of the Presidential Committee on Niger Delta, we proposed a coastal city around Bayelsa Rivers Delta to harness the potential of coast in Nigeria. The ocean is a treasure trove. And this idea is that you can actually mine it for biotech. Biotech is, it's an area that's now multi-trillion dollar, industry. So a blue ocean economy, if we're designed, developed, and not just purpose of maybe slogan, is real, is a good one. So I think these new ministries, the way they are designed on paper, look great. The question now is the policy support, the kind of policies that will be developed, and how the ministers will drive, bring in experts and not create another bureaucracy with the same civil service, public servant, recruit people from everywhere. Recruit experts and make it small but really impactful ministries. Don't go and recreate big ministries, Ministry of Culture and Tourism. No, create smart, small, productive ministries, and the country will get the value for that.
Okay, let's talk about the office of the Minister of Finance and Coordinator Minister of the Economy to be occupied by Wale Edun. What do you expect from him? I mean, and what should be the areas that he should be focusing on?
Well, I think the Minister of Finance and Coordinator Economy was the creation of Okonjo-Iweala and Jonathan, and I think it makes sense in trying to provide an organizing logic around the economy. So yes, finance is the forte, but again, the economy is bigger than finance. So first, I want the minister to realize that economy is not finance. Economy is all those process for transformation, politics, psychology, sociology. You have to look at the Nigerian social capital. You have to look at the development imperatives. We had under Babangida the DFRI, which was an attempt to bring road, infrastructure, rural development, agriculture together. And I think that's the way to go. That's the way the Asian Tigers went, the way of a developmental state, developmental economy. And the idea here would be for him to find a way to first start with staffing. You're going to staff your core team with complementary skills. Don't just staff them with bankers, financial gurus. No, staff them with political economists, with political scientists, with sociologists. Because development is transformation. It's about overcoming constraints. Nigeria has very low productivity. You want to unleash production because really, we talk about our debt crisis. Our debt crisis is not bookkeeping. Our debt crisis, like the former Minister of Finance rightly pointed out, is a revenue crisis and a production crisis. The minister's brief would be to ensure central coordination. And all the ministries, finance, investment, solid minerals, petroleum, every ministry that deals with revenue, deals with production, should be put together in a certain council where centrally designed policies will be adapted to each of those ministries. You can't be running ministries in silo. You have to have a central logic, and that's what the Minister of Finance and Economy should be thinking around. And he has to wear the cap, not just of a banker and looking at the financial, the narrative of bookkeeping. No, he has to look at dynamic productivity, efficiency. Look at how much we are transforming. Look at the link between national and state, because even though we have a national economy based majorly on oil, we have states that have economic powers and schedules. They too have to align their policies to align with federal government. So if you have the federal government with the different policy sets and states, driving opposite direction, you won't have economic growth. So I think that the minister's job will be both to coordinate across the ministries, across Ministry of Finance across the country, and create a synergy around certain bold ideas that can move Nigeria for where we are. The Nigerian crisis is a failure of development, and that failure is a failure of policies of the past. He has to be creative and innovative and look towards the Asian, the BRICS country, Taiwan, South Korea, Japan, China. They have used this model of an integrated developmental state, and it worked. And I think that's what I recommend for the new Minister of Finance.
Okay, what do you expect to see in terms of production? Since we seem to be a consuming nation, not a producing nation. And how do we take advantage of technology?
Yeah, first, there are short to medium term interventions. So medium term, short, medium term, you have to remove the bottlenecks for better private sector engagement. You have to find incentives to make private sector companies and public sector themselves produce. That's number one. Of course, you have to cut off the linkages in the revenue generation. But beyond that, the medium to longer term, you have to rethink the political economy of Nigeria. For example, if states don't have incentive to be productive, if, for example, like you have in China, the regions are given incentive to outperform other regions. So we must be an economy first that encourages production and rewards performance. We cannot be a people. For example, the 5 billion given to all the states should be given next time according to parameters that show efficient use of resources, the rate of conversion of resources, and self-generated resources. So if government was doing poverty and the price is 10 billion, they give you 5 or 7. If you're able to bring 3 and use it well, they give you extra 2, make it 10 billion. And if you use the 10 billion well, then they give you extra 2. So we have to develop incentives that will reward performance and thereby encourage performance. Today, we have a universalism of mediocrity. States are just going to collect money. No, states should see themselves competing. The states in the north can become agro champions, leading to great expansion in GDP contribution of agriculture. Maybe states in the Nile Delta area goes into the petrochemical, the carbon industry quickly, and then they contribute a lot, and then they get rewarded. So the government should create this sense of competition that all the parts of Nigeria that have resources, we are a rich country. If you look at Niger, it has a lot of minerals. So everybody can contribute, but you have to provide intelligible, constitutional, legal, institutional framework to incentivize production and provide a reward that encourages those who are lagging behind to speed up, and ultimately the economy grows.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Amadi, for sharing your thought with us.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, ahead of reports revealing revenues from Nigeria's oil, gas, and mineral resources to be released soon by the Nigerian Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative (NIT), the agency is seeking partnership with the Bureau of Public Service Reforms for government to reconstitute the committee for the full implementation of the Petroleum Industry Act, the PIA. This was as the Director General of the Bureau, Dr. Arabi Bello, led a delegation to NIT to convince the agency to also join the campaign for data protection and management.
Data is gold, data is money, data is oil. So we are working with the UK and US government to drive a very sensitive capacity development program on digitalization and understanding the basic skills of digitalization, how to write reports and how to protect the data we are generating. Ministry of Digital Economy have been giving us signals that hardly will a day pass without a minimum of 100 attempts being made to break into database of Nigeria.
We are going to take note of all this as we work to conclude work on our data center. The data center we are planning should not only, from the wise counseling you have given, should not be only a warehouse of data. It should also be concerned about data integrity and data protection.
We now move to the markets. Global shares hit 2-month lows on Friday. For more on global markets, Bosede Abel is standing by. Hello, Bosede.
Hi, Musa. How are you today? Hello and welcome to the market segment. European markets retreated Friday, tracking cautious global sentiments as traders assess the future for monetary policy and fresh concerns about China's real estate sector. DAX depreciated 0.51%, FTSE 0.69%, and CAC 40 of France also depreciated 0.69%. Asia markets fell on Friday as investors accessed Japan's July inflation data and fresh blows to China's real estate sector. Japan's core inflation rate fell to 3.1%, down from 3.3% in June. Headline inflation remained at 3.3%. However, Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index slipped 2.05% in its final hour of trading. The Shanghai Composite also dipped 1.00% across 3,131.95, and the Nikkei also depreciated 0.55% at 31,450.76 basis points. Stock futures in the U.S. slipped Friday after major averages dropped for the third straight day. The Dow Jones Industrial Average dipped 0.14%, S&P 500 0.20%, and Nasdaq Composite also dipped 0.03%. It was a mixed trading session for African markets, with Tunisia and Namibia closing marginally positive, while South Africa's JSE Africa Top 40 closed on the red at 1.42%. That's the global markets here for the close of the week for today. Over to you, Musa.
Thank you, Baside. Now on Commodity Watch, gold gained on Friday as the dollar and bond yields ease. Let's see commodity prices. With the depreciation of the US dollar and expectations that China, the world's largest oil importer, will offer incentives to stimulate its economy. International benchmark Brent crude traded at $84.35 per barrel, a 0.27% rise from the closing price of $84.12 per barrel on Thursday. The American benchmark West Texas Intermediate crude traded at same time at $80.77 per barrel, up 0.47% from Thursday's session close of $80.39 per barrel. The continued depreciation of the US dollar against other currencies supports the upsurge in oil prices. As the Naira appreciates this week, the US dollar index fell 0.14% on Friday. Let's see the official exchange rate. This is where we end this edition of Business Express. We value your feedback, so keep the comments, observations, and suggestions coming. Be informed that all previous episodes are available on YouTube on the NTA's channel. Business Express returns next week. I'm Musa Abubakar. Enjoy the rest of your day.